Welcome to English Listening Practice Hub. Today, we'll test your English level, not with a boring exam, but with a real, living listening experience. This is not a grammar test. It's not about memorizing words. It's about understanding English in real life, the kind you hear every day. From A1 beginner to C2 advanced, we'll go step by step, and you'll discover how much English you truly understand. Before we start, take a deep breath, get your headphones ready, and most importantly, be honest with yourself. This is not a competition. It's a reflection of your journey. Now, let's begin with A1 level, the foundation. This is where every English learner starts. It's the level of simple ideas, clear pronunciation, and short, direct sentences. At the A1 beginner level, English feels new, maybe even scary. You understand words like hello, good morning, my name is, how are you, but complex phrases still sound fast. You can say short things like, I'm from Turkey. I live in Milan. I like coffee. You can ask simple questions. What is your name? Where are you from? How old are you? But when native speakers answer quickly, it feels like a wave. Too fast, too much. Don't worry. That's normal. A1 is not about speed. It's about foundation. At this level, your goal is not perfection. It's survival. You want to understand and be understood. So, pronunciation and rhythm are everything. Listen carefully. Imagine this situation. You walk into a cafe in London. The barista smiles and says, Hi there, what can I get for you? You freeze. You expected, what do you want? But in real life, people don't speak like textbooks. They use expressions. They blend words. That's why we practice with listening. Because real English is not clean and perfect. It's living, breathing, human. So, let's test your A1 comprehension. Here's a short listening. Hello. My name's Emma. I'm from Canada. I work in a big city. Every morning, I take the bus to work. I like my job and I love meeting new people. If you understood most of that, congratulations, you're at least A1. You can follow simple sentences about everyday life. Now try this. After work, I go to the gym. I don't like running, but I like swimming. Then I cook dinner and watch TV. Could you follow it without subtitles? If yes, you're comfortable at A1 and ready for A2. But if you missed words like after, then, cook, or watch, it's okay. This is your starting point. Every fluent speaker once stood exactly here. Tips to move from A1 to A2. Listen to short dialogues every day. Repeat out loud. Learn phrases, not single words. For example, say, take the bus instead of just bus. Don't fear mistakes. Every sentence you speak adds one brick to your foundation. At this level, your best friend is consistency. Don't study for hours. Study every day. 10 minutes of real English listening is worth more than 1 hour of grammar reading. And that's what this channel is about. Learning English by listening, repeating, and living the language. Now you understand what A1 feels like. Let's step forward. Because A2 is where English starts to come alive. Now that you've mastered the basics, it's time to move to A2, the elementary level. This is where English starts to feel real. You can introduce yourself, ask simple questions, and understand short stories, but conversations still feel fast and unpredictable. At A2, you begin to think in English a little. Not fully, but the sentences start forming naturally in your mind. You no longer translate every single word. You start recognizing patterns. You start to feel the language. At this level, your world expands. You can order food in a restaurant, talk about your family, describe your daily routine, or share your weekend plans. You understand simple past tense, basic present, and sometimes even future. Let's imagine a real situation. You meet someone new at a bus stop. They smile and say,
Hi.
"Nice day, isn't it?" You answer, "Yes, it's sunny and warm. I like this weather." They ask, "Where are you going?" You say, "I'm going to work. I work at a bank near the city center." This is classic A2 conversation. Short, natural, clear, and polite. If you can handle that, you're already stronger than most learners. At A2, you also start understanding context. You may not know every word, but you can guess meaning from the situation. For example, in this story, Maria wakes up at 7. She makes coffee and listens to the radio. Then she walks to the bus station. She meets her friend, and they talk about work. Maybe you don't know station or radio, but you understand the idea. It's morning, it's routine, it's life. That's real English understanding. The A2 level is powerful because it's where confidence begins. You can survive in an English-speaking country. You can travel, ask for help, read signs, and understand menus. You can write simple messages and read short emails. But there's a trap here, the A2 comfort zone. Many learners stay here for years.
Why?
Because they understand enough to feel safe, but not enough to feel fluent. So they stop pushing forward. They stay in the middle, comfortable but stuck. Don't let that happen to you. If you want to move to B1, you need to break that comfort zone. Start listening to faster English. Stop depending on subtitles all the time. Challenge yourself to understand the general meaning instead of every word. Let's test your A2 listening. Last weekend, I went to the beach with my family. We had a great time. The weather was perfect, and we played volleyball. In the evening, we ate pizza and watched the sunset. Did you understand the story? If yes, you're definitely A2 or higher. If you can imagine it clearly, that's even better. That means your brain is now thinking in English. Now, a little faster. Yesterday was busy. I cleaned my house, went shopping, met my friends, and watched a movie. It was fun, but I was really tired at night. If you followed that without effort, you're ready for B1, the intermediate level, where real communication begins. Tips to move from A2 to B1. Stop reading subtitles. First, watch and listen. Then, check later. Shadow the speaker. Repeat what you hear immediately after. Learn chunks, not grammar. Memorize full expressions like "it depends on" or "I'm not sure about that." Think in simple English. Don't translate. Say what you can with what you have. At A2, you're building your language muscle. You can already understand the rhythm, but now it's time to strengthen your ears. Listen to podcasts. Watch listening practice videos like this one every day. 10 minutes daily is more powerful than 1 hour once a week. If you've reached this far, you're doing great. Be proud. You've moved from "I understand a few words" to "I can communicate in real situations." But this is only the beginning, because B1 is where you finally start sounding confident, where English stops being a subject and starts being a skill. Let's move forward to the next level. Welcome to the B1 intermediate level. This is where English starts to feel alive. At this level, you can already hold conversations, understand most daily topics, and express your thoughts. but sometimes your ideas feel bigger than your vocabulary. You want to say more, but the words don't come fast enough. That's normal. It means your brain is transitioning from a student who learns English to a person who lives in English. Let's picture it like this. At A1 and A2, you were learning to walk. At B1, you start to run, but your legs still shake a little. Sometimes you trip, sometimes you stop, but you keep moving forward. At B1, you can talk about your opinions, dreams, plans, and experiences. You can understand TV shows with simple language or YouTube videos with clear speech. You can write messages, comment online, even tell short stories. Here's an example of real-life B1 communication. I started learning English 2 years ago. At first, it was difficult to understand people when they spoke quickly. But now, I can follow most conversations and express my ideas. I still make mistakes, but I don't let them stop me. If you can understand that easily, you're B1. If you can say something similar about your own journey, you're confidently B1. Let's try another listening challenge. Last summer, I traveled abroad for the first time. I went to Italy with my best friend. We visited small towns, ate delicious food, and talked to locals. At first, it was hard to understand their accent, but after a few days, my listening improved a lot. It felt amazing to use English in real life. If that sounded natural to you, congratulations. You're not just learning anymore, you're using English. At this level, you begin to notice that English is not just about grammar, it's about rhythm. You start to recognize the music of the language, the way people connect words, the rise and fall of their voices. You can hear emotion now, not just meaning. That's huge progress. But with progress comes frustration, because B1 learners often hit what we call the plateau. It's when you understand a lot, but you still feel stuck. You feel like your English isn't improving, even though you're practicing. That's not a failure. That's a signal that you've grown fast, and now your progress is slower because you're closer to the top. At B1, you need to start training smarter. You don't just need new words, you need better use of the words you already know. Here's the key. Stop trying to sound perfect. Start trying to sound natural. I don't know. I guess so. That's a good point. I see what you mean. These small, everyday expressions make you sound fluent, not advanced grammar. Let's practice another real-life B1 scene. Hey, how's your English practice going? It's going well. I listen to English every day and try to speak more. That's great. Do you study alone or with a teacher? Mostly alone, but I watch listening practice videos on YouTube.
Cool.
I think listening is the best way to learn naturally. If you can follow this dialogue smoothly, you're B1. If you can answer these questions about yourself, you're a confident B1 speaker. Now, what's the next goal? Fluency. Not perfection, fluency. Fluency means you can think and speak without fear. It's when words flow naturally, even if you make small mistakes. Tips to move from B1 to B2. Listen daily, even passively. English needs to live in your ears. Shadow native speakers. Don't just understand. Imitate tone, pause, and emotion. Start expressing opinions. Don't just describe your day. Say what you think about things. Example, I believe learning English opens your mind. Read for ideas, not vocabulary. Try short articles or motivational texts. Learn how thoughts are built, not just words. At B1, your biggest enemy is boredom. You already understand enough to survive, but not enough to feel fully free in English. So you must create energy in your learning. Change your routine. Listen to new voices. Speak with different people. Challenge yourself to describe complex ideas simply. The more you speak, the faster your brain adapts. Your English muscles need repetition, but also surprise. Now, close your eyes for a moment. Think of your first English word. Then think of everything you can say today. That's not small. That's progress. You're no longer a beginner. You're a communicator. You can connect with the world. And that's what language is all about. You're ready for the next step, the B2 level, where you finally feel fluent. Let's take that leap together. Welcome to the B2 level, the upper intermediate stage, where English finally feels natural. At this level, you can talk about most topics, express your feelings, give opinions, and even debate ideas. You don't just understand English anymore, you live it. But this level is also dangerous because it feels comfortable. You understand movies, podcasts, and even jokes. You can write clear emails, explain your thoughts, and tell stories. So you start to relax. You think, I'm fluent now. But B2 is not the finish line. It's the bridge to true mastery. Let's imagine this. You're in a conversation with native speakers. They're talking fast, using idioms, slang, and humor. You understand 80%, but you miss some parts. You laugh when they laugh, but you're not sure why. That's B2. You're good, very good, but there's still one final wall to climb. That wall is depth. Depth means understanding beyond the surface. Not just words, but culture. Not just sentences, but the meaning behind them. At B2, your goal is not to learn more words, but to see how they connect. For example, a beginner says, I'm tired. A B2 speaker says, it's been a long day. I could really use some rest. See the difference? It's not just vocabulary. It's emotional accuracy. It's human. Let's test your B2 comprehension with a short monologue. Learning English changed my life. It opened doors I didn't even know existed. But it wasn't easy. It took patience, discipline, and consistency. There were days I wanted to give up, but I reminded myself why I started. Because understanding a new language is not just communication, it's connection. If that sounded clear, you're definitely B2 or close. You understand tone, message, and meaning, not just words. Now, let's make it faster and more natural. These days, I don't study English like before. I just live with it. I watch movies, listen to podcasts, read books, and talk to people. That's how real progress happens, when English stops being a subject and starts being a habit. Could you follow it without pausing? Could you catch the small details like, I don't study English like before? That's advanced listening. That's B2 mastery in progress. At B2, pronunciation and rhythm become essential. Because now you're not learning to speak, you're learning to sound natural.
I gatego kropka.
I've got to go. Wanna grab coffee? Do you want to grab coffee? Let me see. Let me see. These are not slang, they're how people actually speak. If you can understand and use them comfortably, you're close to fluency. But remember, fluency is not speed. It's clarity under pressure. It's being able to express emotion, opinion, and humor in real time. Tips to grow inside B2. Expose yourself to real English. Watch interviews, not lessons. Listen to unscripted conversations. That's where natural English lives. Learn phrases, not single words. For example, instead of important, learn play an important role. Instead of agree, learn I couldn't agree more. Record yourself. When you speak, record your voice. Listen to how you sound, the rhythm, the pauses, the emotion. This builds awareness and confidence. Stop fearing mistakes. At this level, mistakes are no longer failure, they're refinement. Perfection kills progress. At B2, you also begin to use idioms and metaphors naturally. This is where English becomes colorful. It's raining cats and dogs. Break the ice. Once in a blue moon. These expressions carry emotion and culture, and when you use them correctly, you sound like a thinker, not a translator. But don't just memorize them. Understand their energy. When you say, break the ice, you're not breaking anything. You're creating comfort. This is how language becomes alive. At this level, you can also handle emotional topics. I've realized that learning English is not about grammar or vocabulary. It's about building confidence, believing that you can communicate your thoughts clearly. You can talk about stress, motivation, success, failure, because now English has become a tool for your real thoughts. And that's exactly what makes B2 so beautiful. You're finally using the language to explore who you are. You can speak freely. You can listen deeply. You can understand stories, humor, even sarcasm. But what separates B2 from C1 is one thing: precision. At C1, every sentence has weight. Every word carries emotion. Every tone has purpose. That's where we're going next. But before that, be proud of yourself. You've come far. From "my name is" to "I believe that." You've turned language into connection. Now let's go one step higher, into the level of thinkers, leaders, and storytellers, C1 Advanced. Welcome to C1, the advanced level. This is where English becomes more than a language. It becomes your second skin. You don't just speak English now, you think in it. You don't just understand words, you feel them. At this level, you are not trying to survive in English anymore. You are shaping ideas, expressing complex emotions, and speaking with confidence. You can join debates, tell long stories, and explain your opinion with details and balance. But don't misunderstand this. C1 is not about speaking like a native, it's about communicating like a thinker. It's about using English to express depth, not just correctness. Let's imagine this. You're having a deep conversation about life, work, or success. You're not just using English. You're using it to share perspective. In my opinion, success isn't about money or fame. It's about feeling fulfilled, knowing that what you do matters. If you can follow that naturally, you're already functioning at C1. Now, let's make it more challenging. I've come to realize that confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from accepting your imperfections and still showing up. This sentence has layers: emotion, reflection, rhythm. And if you can process it easily, that's advanced comprehension. At C1, you start understanding tone, irony, and nuance. You can tell when someone is joking, being polite, or being sarcastic. You can feel the difference between "I'm fine" and "I'm fine." That awareness makes you a complete communicator. This is also the level where your English becomes flexible. You can change your tone depending on the situation: formal, friendly, emotional, or persuasive. You adapt. "Hey, what's up?" Friendly: "Good afternoon, it's a pleasure to meet you." Formal: "Honestly, I feel like we could improve this plan." Professional: "You understand not just what to say, but how to say it." That's fluency. But C1 is not just about comfort, it's also about control. You start controlling your rhythm, tone, and style. You can speak slowly to sound confident, or with energy to sound inspiring. Your sentences become longer, but not complicated. You speak clearly, naturally, and with meaning. You also start learning the beauty of silence, the pauses that make your words stronger. Sometimes the best way to say something is to say it slowly. That's C1 mastery, not just language, but delivery. Let's test your C1 comprehension with a short piece. Over the years, I've realized that progress isn't always visible. Sometimes, the most important growth happens quietly, in your thoughts, in your patience, in your attitude. And one day, you look back and realize you've changed without even noticing. If you felt the emotion behind that, you're thinking like a C1 learner. Because C1 is emotional intelligence in English form. Tips to master C1. Focus on precision. Learn to choose the right word for the right moment. Example: I'm upset and I'm disappointed don't mean the same. Expand through expression. Practice paraphrasing. Say the same idea in 3 ways. Example: it's difficult. It's challenging. It requires effort. Think in English stories. Don't translate. When you see a tree, don't think agak. Just think tree. Start teaching what you learn. Explaining something in English proves you truly understand it. At this level, English is no longer your goal, it's your tool. It's how you learn, how you connect, how you think. You might even dream in English now. You hear thoughts forming naturally in your head. That's not magic. That's mastery through repetition. At C1, you can also express empathy. You can comfort someone, motivate them, inspire them, all in English. I understand what you're going through. It's not easy, but you're doing your best, and that's what matters. That's emotional fluency, and it's more powerful than any grammar rule. But remember, even at C1, you're still learning. There's no final level in English. There's only evolution. Language grows with you. As your thoughts expand, your words do too. The next and final level, C2, is not about perfection. It's about mastery through simplicity. It's when your English feels like breathing. You're close, Kinka. You've come from A1 words to C1 thoughts. Now it's time to step into C2, mastery level, where language becomes art. Welcome to C2, the mastery level. This is where English is no longer something you study, it's something you are. You've crossed the bridge from learning to living the language. You can express any thought, any emotion, any detail, naturally, fluently, and confidently. But don't mistake C2 for perfection. Even native speakers make mistakes. The difference is they communicate without fear. And that's what mastery really means. Freedom, not flawlessness. At this level, you understand every tone, from casual jokes to deep emotions, from sarcasm to poetry. You can shift instantly between styles, formal in meetings, relaxed with friends, inspiring in speeches. You no longer translate ideas, you deliver them. Let's hear what C2 feels like. Language is more than words. It's energy. Every sentence carries rhythm, emotion, and power. Once you learn to feel that energy, you no longer speak English, you flow with it. That's what fluency is, flow. It's when your mind and your mouth move together, without hesitation. It's when your thoughts arrive in English faster than you can write them down. At C2, your grammar is automatic, your pronunciation is natural, and your vocabulary is alive, flexible, colorful, expressive. You no longer study rules, you study impact. You ask, how does this sentence make people feel? You experiment with tone, pause, and silence. Because at this level, silence can say more than words. Sometimes, what you don't say makes the biggest difference. That's mastery. It's not about more, it's about meaning. C2 speakers don't show off vocabulary. They simplify. They speak with clarity and purpose. They don't try to sound smart. They try to make people feel understood. Let's try an example of real C2 language, storytelling through rhythm and feeling. I used to think fluency was about knowing every word. But one day, I realized it's about connection. When I stopped worrying about mistakes, people started listening to me more. Because confidence speaks louder than grammar. If you not only understood that but felt it, you're already there. You've reached the stage where language serves you, not the other way around. At C2, you can also play with English. Bend it, shape it, make it yours. You can use metaphors, humor, subtle emotion, or poetic rhythm. Learning English isn't a journey from A to Z. It's a circle. Every time you return, you understand a little more deeply. You can read literature and hear the emotion behind the writer's words. You can explain complex ideas in simple, powerful ways. That's what makes a C2 communicator special, simplicity with depth. How to live at C2 level. Keep exposing yourself to real English. Books, interviews, podcasts, not lessons but life. Real voices build real instinct. Express creativity. Write journal entries. Record short reflections. Speak your thoughts aloud. English is no longer homework. It's your instrument. Teach, inspire, share. The highest level of understanding is when you can explain it simply to someone else.
Keep humility alive.
Mastery without humility becomes arrogance. Stay curious, stay open, stay hungry for growth. At this level, you realize something beautiful. The goal was never just to learn English. It was to discover yourself through English. You learned how to focus. You learned how to be patient. You learned how to fail and start again. And through that process, you didn't just build a language, you built character. That's what C2 really represents. Mastery of yourself. You no longer think, can I say this?
You just say it.
You no longer ask, will they understand me? You know they will, because your communication is clear, confident, and alive. This level is not about the number of words you know. It's about how deeply you connect through them. Mastery isn't speaking without mistakes. It's speaking with authenticity. When you reach this mindset, you stop chasing levels. You start living in English. Every conversation, every moment, every word. You've gone from A1 to C2. From, hello, my name is, to here's what I think and here's why. From fear to freedom. That is mastery. That is the end of the test, but the beginning of a lifelong journey. Because once you reach fluency, you realize there's no final level. There's only evolution. And every day you listen, speak, and grow, you become a little more fluent, not just in English, but in life itself. And now, take a deep breath. You've just completed your full English journey from A1 to C2. From the first hello to full fluency. That's not just language progress. That's growth. That's discipline. That's transformation. You didn't just learn new words. You learned a new way to think. You learned patience, focus, and confidence. And most importantly, you prove to yourself that you can do anything when you stay consistent. So, before you close this video, stop for a second. Think of how far you've come. You can now understand stories, emotions, and real conversations in English. That means you can connect with the world, and that's a power very few people ever build. This wasn't a simple test. It was a mirror. It showed you where you are now and where you can go next. If you reach this point, you're not just learning English anymore. You're mastering communication, confidence, and mindset. But remember, learning never ends. Fluency is not a destination. It's a lifestyle. So keep listening.
Keep speaking. Keep evolving.
Because the more you practice, the more you'll realize English is not something you study. It's something you live. I am fluent. I am growing. I am proud of myself. Say it. Believe it. Live it. And if you enjoyed this journey,
Don't stop here.
join us again for more lessons like this one. We create real listening experiences that help you learn naturally, without stress, without pressure, just growth. Subscribe to English Listening Practice Hub, because here you don't just practice English. You build your mindset, your confidence, and your future. Thank you for listening, for trusting the process, and for being part of this incredible journey. Until next time, keep learning, keep believing, and remember, you are already becoming the best version of yourself.